Welcome to the Uncontested Investing Show, presented by REI Inc. magazine and sponsored by RCN Capital. Each week, we focus on bringing you candid convos from the best in the biz. Here's your host, Tim Harridge.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Harridge. Thank you so much for swinging back by. Today, I'm here with a good friend of mine, Jason Mcdougall. Jason, thanks for stopping by.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on again.
So Jason is a DFW all-star real estate investor. I've known him for about a decade now. And Jason, why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I got into real estate in 2016. I had a W-2 job that I felt like somebody wanted way more than I did. So I fired my boss in 2016. My wife was a few months pregnant. Started out wholesaling and flipping, and then got into the rentals, and that's currently where I am today, just stacking up the rentals.
So that's a good time, 2016. Not sure about the whole pregnant wife part being a good time, but
it was fun.
As we talked about earlier, we don't really know what we don't know, right?
Yeah,
and
for
sometimes
sure.
we forget what we did know. I like to start every week with a segment I call the bottom line up front, the bluff. So when I was in the Marine Corps, I was an intelligence guy. We had to brief the generals, and they would always say, don't bury the lead, right? You have to say the most important thing up front in case, there's a mortar attack or people have to get up and leave or whatever.
Yeah.
I can say this to the vet and you're like, oh, yeah,
Huh?
So bottom line up front, up to 2 minutes, just anything you think people should be thinking about today, maybe focusing on, maybe avoiding, monitoring in their business or in the economy. You good to go?
Yes, sir.
Take it away.
All right, so I'd say the most important thing to look for right now is opportunities. Back when I got started in 2016 is when I started buying houses, but really I was in real estate in 2011 trying to learn the business, and those were the best buying opportunities, I think, of most people's careers. But I think we're about to get in the same situation now. So I would say don't be fearful of the market, just buy them, but buy the houses responsibly. Make sure you're buying them deep enough to account for any, drop off in value in the future or something like that, but also to stack up some cash to make sure that you're staying liquid during that time too. Both those things are super important, but a lot of the people that are on the sidelines right now, I think, are gonna miss some great opportunities to buy some good deals to hang on to for many years to come. So that's my advice.
Okay, so Jason, you just said some things that are very important that we have to kind of peel back the onion. Buying deep. Why do you say buy deep right now?
Because we all don't know what's going to happen with the market, right? It could go down 10 or 20%. I personally don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. So buying deep where you have enough equity portion to always make sure you're not upside down. Always make sure there's enough juice in that deal. So maybe if you have to refinance it in a few months after your rehab and the market's changed, you're still good. You're not going to be stuck with something in a bad loan or whatever.
So at RCN, to do well over $1 billion in loans this year, and as I shared with you at lunch, trying to do another $500 million or so by the end of the year,
good.
We've always got to have cash, right?
Sure.
Because when you're funding hundreds of loans a week, you have to have cash. But there's some people that say cash is trash, right?
Yeah.
And I get it, it rhymes and it makes a good little meme, but you said during the bluff, to I think you said sit on cash or conserve cash. What is your kind of business or investing thesis on kind of how much cash to keep at any point in time?
I don't know that there's a number. For each person it's probably different, but for me, I want to have enough where I can maintain if there's no rents for 6 months across my portfolio. I want to make sure I'm not going to have to give those properties back, right? So I want to make sure I can cover the debt on those. And also just for opportunities. There's some opportunities that might come up where maybe a lender isn't available, or maybe you can't get funds fast enough or something, but it's a great deal. So you want to have cash available for that too. And cash is trash. I've heard that, and I know it is because of inflation and stuff, but it also makes you feel really good to be sitting on some cash, and you can't really put a number on that investing wise, right? There's no return on how you feel.
A great mentor of mine used to say that real estate can make a millionaire out of a multimillionaire really quick. Because you can get real estate rich and cash poor.
Yeah.
Right, and then you
100%.
can't service your obligations, but you also can't take advantage of opportunities, and I think that opportunity cost is huge.
For sure, the real estate isn't completely liquid. It's pretty liquid. You can sell a house, but that takes time. So if you have an event where you need some liquidity and all your liquidity is tied up in equity, then you're kind of stuck.
Well, now, so what amount of cash these days can buy a house? Because you hear everyone complaining about how affordable homes are. You hear everyone complaining that, you really can't get started in this. But like, what's the cheapest house you've bought in the last 2 years?
$4,000. And
so that was a lot, right?
It was livable, dude.
No.
Yes.
So
Livable house, had central AC, was a couple years old, roof was a couple years old. I did like a 20 grand rehab on it. It appraised for 70 grand after rehab, so it's a lower price house, but there's opportunities out there that are maybe not inside a metropolitan area, right?
And how does one pick the market, sub-market, focus area when they're looking at either today's market or just markets in general?
Man, I think for me, I was like, what is a market that is stable and there's Walmarts available nearby and a Home Depot and it has a good employment base and is within an hour of me? So that's what I picked. I picked Wichita Falls for that reason. I was investing in DFW, but Wichita Falls just drew me for those reasons. The prices were cheaper. There was more inventory available. So there's markets like that around Texas.
Well, I wasn't going to throw your market out there, but you did it.
That's fine.
So there's an Air Force base there.
Yep.
And there's a regional hospital.
There is.
And I've kind of played around with that, looking on Google Maps and just typing in regional hospital. And
That's a good idea.
You find these, Wichita Falls, Greenville, Brownwood, right? Abilene.
Yeah.
You find these population centers where the big money probably isn't going to go, but they do have a Walmart, a Home Depot, a Buffalo Wild Wings, and a regional hospital.
And a Sam's Club.
Oh.
Yes.
I mean, now you're getting bougie.
I know, right?
So Wichita Falls, aren't you worried if there's a recession, like the town, everyone will abandon the town and just move to Dallas?
Not really. So Wichita Falls, if you look at the population there, and this is like a lot of these smaller Texas towns with like 100,000 people, they just kind of chug along for population. They don't really increase, they don't decrease, they just go straight along. And it's been that way forever. So I'm not worried about an economic crisis in Wichita Falls. I just don't think that's a risk up there.
What we saw in 08 and 09, when you go back and look, it was the really rural farm towns that suffered population declines, and towns like Wichita Falls, Brownwood, Greenville, Corsicana, and people listening that aren't from DFW are like, what are these places?
Right.
They actually gained population because the worse the economy gets, people have to move into city centers, to population centers. That's where the housing authority is.
Yeah.
Our government is there for times of need. And ultimately, those county governments and those, I think, large, I'd call Wichita Falls it's almost a tertiary city, but it's kind of a secondary city.
Yeah.
That's where people have to go when they're in need of jobs or housing or money from the government.
Sure. Man, a lot of these markets, houses are still affordable. Like I told you, that $4,000 house, that's like an anomaly. Most houses are like a 120 or 130 ARV there, but there's markets like Tyler, Texas, Longview, Greenville, all those are the same way. So I think as people start to get priced out of DFW, because it's getting expensive here, and they can work remotely, they're going to move to some of these other markets where housing is a lot more affordable. And they still have their quality of life with all their Sam's Club and stuff like that.
I had a friend that did the same thing in Atlanta. He just flipping a lot in Atlanta, and with the institutional competition, it had just gotten to where he was just fed up. But he did the same thing. He looked for these regional medical centers, these, in Texas we have Raytheon way out in Greenville.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
He looked for big job centers, military bases, that kind of thing, and he found a market that just, there really wasn't a whole lot of people in, and he's just been crushing it.
Yeah.
I wanted to now flip back to, what does your business look like today?
Man, as little as possible. So I talked to you before. I had the team in the office, right? I had employees. I had an office I had to go to. And I had this job that I created for myself, right? And I hated it. I'm a terrible manager of people. I did not enjoy it. And then COVID hit, and I had an opportunity to kind of start over the way I wanted to. So I started over with just a one-man shop and a couple virtual assistants. So today, I mean, my days are like whatever I want to do. I have complete freedom of my time. And I'm okay with not having huge stacks of cash, flipping tons of houses and wholesaling tons of houses. I'm just focusing on building my rental portfolio and wholesaling some stuff on the side. So taking it easy.
So we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the difference between flipping and wholesaling at volume, and the difference between scale and I would say, balance.
Yeah.
And the kind of pre-COVID versus post-COVID realities that you found as an entrepreneur and as an investor, and then kind of where you see things going from here.
Deal.
So stick around. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for fast funding for your next fix and flip? What about leverage for your next long-term rental or vacation rental? Need capital for a new construction project? Look no further. RCN Capital has you covered. As the leading nationwide lender for real estate investors, RCN Capital offers short-term and long-term financing solutions for your next investment property. RCN Capital takes a common-sense approach to your loan request, offering high leverages and low rates backed by superior customer service. Whether you're investing in single-family properties or multifamily properties across the U.S., RCN Capital has funding options for you with no hoops to jump through and quick closings in as little as 2 weeks. Ready to get a quote for your next investment property? Visit rcncapital.com/podcast to apply today. There is no fee to apply. Again, that's rcncapital.com/podcast to apply today.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Harridge. I'm still here with Jason Money Mcdougall.
Ooh.
So, Jason, up before COVID, you were, I would say, fairly active in the DFW real estate investor scene, doing a lot of volume, growing your team, getting offices, hiring full-time personnel. I remember one time you made a post about, I think, someone that you had hired that was like smoking pot in the break room or something.
Bro, she was huffing an air duster can. Yes.
So why don't you just spend some time talking to the audience of kind of like that journey from 2016 to 22 or 2016 to 2020 and kind of what led you on that path, and then ultimately what put you on the reset and how that's worked out for you.
Yeah. So in 2016, I started, wholesaling and flipping the houses, and I thought that was the path, right? Just scale that up, do more of that. And then, like I told you before, I realized I just made another job for myself, and I was kind of trapped. But I'm like, where do I go from here? This is what you're supposed to do. Then COVID hit, and everybody was forced to shut down, right? So I closed my office, I let my employees go, and I spent a lot of time with my family. We went on walks and hung out all the time, and I was like, man, this is amazing. I love this, and I don't want to give this feeling up. I want more of this. This is what I'm after. This is why I quit my job, right?
Right.
So I had to figure out how to make that happen. I had to do something to stay active to produce income, but it didn't have to be like the grind of transactional volume with wholesaling and flipping houses. So I was like, well, if I could just do a couple wholesales and stack up rentals, that would meet my cash flow needs and help me grow my wealth at the same time and do whatever I want with my time.
Transactional volume. If you didn't watch the episode with Eddie Speed that we did, you go back and watch that. So he said, you have to always take a look at your transactional growth and your wealth growth. And if one is growing faster than the other, you've got to slow it down and increase the other, right? Like you've got transactional income and wealth income.
Sure.
There's a lot of people out there, and I'm not throwing shade at anyone, that do hundreds and hundreds of transactions a year, but they have very low margins and high overhead. And that's one of those things that I've been guilty of. And it's sometimes the dance is all fast music and everyone's having a good time.
Yep.
But then there's that slow dance and you realize you don't really have a partner and you kind of feel like you're standing there alone.
Yeah.
And that's just, the economic slowdowns and the ebbs and flows. Talk a little bit about, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
put me on the spot.
Why you went down the road of get the office, build the team, scale, kind of what you felt like the industry told you should do. And then we're going to get, after that, I will spend some time there because I think there's a lot of people that are either in that trap or will get into that trap, and I think we can help them avoid it.
Yeah, man, 100% it was social media. So I was starting in real estate by myself, and I did a good amount of volume by myself. And then I saw people on Facebook or wherever hiring teams and scaling like, oh, that's what I got to do too. I need to scale because these guys are crushing it.
Right.
So I tried that, realized I'm a terrible manager. I shouldn't have done that. And those other people that are doing it, either they're really smart people and doing a great job, which a lot of them are, and we need those people, but there's a lot of people that were doing it and really not having much success with it. I see people getting burned out on that stuff. So I took a pause from the whole social media thing, the whole Facebook thing, because I feel like a lot of those people were just kind of full of it, man. I don't think that all the successes that people are posting all over Facebook are really real. Because I've tried that, and I know it's super hard to attain that level of success, man. I'm not like the smartest guy. I would also try to figure it out, and it's super hard. So I think the peer pressure is really what got me started and also got me off of it.
You know, there's a lot of peer pressure in social media. There's definitely a lot of peer pressure in masterminds. And I love masterminds. I'm part of several. But you really have to make sure you're in the right one, right? The one where people are really up there being raw and truthful. And because my whole thing is, and a question I ask every investor that ever presents their business to me is to say, how much do you keep? Right? Like,
yeah.
Because ultimately, if you're doing 300 a year at $5,000 a pop, you're doing 1.5 million in volume. But if your monthly overhead's 50 grand, right, now you're down to 900,000 in volume.
Right.
And that's all ordinary income. So by the time you pay taxes, you're down to 600,000.
Yeah.
And that's typically the numbers you see people sharing.
Sure.
Are before commissions, splits. I don't think I've ever posted a check or a HUD because I've had enough checks and HUDs to know that number is never accurate.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
like, I mean,
that is not your net profit.
Right. I mean, period.
At all.
And so I look at percent retained revenue, and I still run a wholesale business, but I literally manage it to 55%. Right. So if we make $1, I know that 55% of that is gone between advertising, the call software and the CRM and all that, and then commissions.
Right.
Right. And so that's the only number I look at. Right. So it may do $1 million in volume this year, but I know I'm only making $450, and I know that I'm paying, 20% plus of that to the IRS. So it makes me $350,000. It's a decent business, right? It's decent. But I think people get lost in like the true net number and the effort it takes to do it.
You said to me a couple of years ago, you said, keep it small and keep it all, right? And that's not just for keeping all the money, it's also for keeping all the time. So as you get older, I just turned 40 this year, time has become very valuable to me. So being able to do whatever I want and not have a team to manage, not have processes to manage, make sure people are doing this or this or this, that's important to me. So
I feel like in the real estate investment game or business, ultimately, the guys in the middle get crushed. It's like if you're really small, you make a lot of money and enjoy your life. If you get really big, I mean like hundreds of transactions a year, then you get to where you've got some consistency and some scale. That middle ground though, that 50 to 100 a year is tough sledding.
Yeah.
It is. Man, too many people in this industry kind of judge their own successes by what they see on social media.
100%.
And instead of what's in their bank account.
100%.
So what made you shift to buying more rental property?
I want to quit working as soon as possible.
Amen. Amen. We're just going to put that on loop, right?
I want to, I just want to enjoy my time, man. And buying rental properties allows me to buy some of my time back where I can do that. So as quickly as I can stack up rental properties, I'm doing it. And I probably won't stop that. I'll just trade to a different asset or something at some point.
You may be the fourth or fifth guest that has said the exact phrase, buying back my time.
Yeah. Not
buying back time, buying back my time. And I find it very interesting because ultimately, if you go to my personal website at timheritage.com, the header says, the business is the vehicle, not the dream.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I wrote that as a reflection upon myself because there's been so many times in my business where I didn't have time for my family. I didn't have time for my kids. I would neglect my wife because I was so busy growing the business, right? I was so busy creating the dream. One day this, one day that. And now, out of age and wisdom, being a 40-year-old, not a 30-year-old or not a 20-year-old, you can look back and you can say, guys, I mean, what if you didn't have to wait for one day?
Right.
And that's what I was telling you that day we had barbecue at 10:50. I remember that day because I saw how you were building your team, and I just kind of, I don't know, there's something about it that made me reach out because it's a highway to nowhere at times.
Yeah.
And if you're not intentional and you don't really know why or what you're building, right, then it's just transactional revenue.
For sure.
It's widgets, right? Like you will build a manufacturing business, which is cool. But let's just be honest. This is what I tell everybody. It's like you manufacture a product for someone. You're a dealer. That's it. You're not an investor.
Yeah.
Right? Like let's stop calling it investing. But I don't want to be too negative. I feel like I'm taking a completely wrong road here. Let's refocus to rental property.
Okay.
What have you found in rental property that makes you happy?
To be completely honest, rental properties are kind of a pain, right? So they don't make me happy as far as like the day-to-day stuff. But fixing up a property and bringing something back to life is fun. And then seeing the equity capture on that property is fun. And then knowing that, like, for me, no matter what, I've got some security there where my rental properties will take care of my family if I pass away or whatever.
Right.
That's important to me too. So all those things that kind of unlock freedom are very important to me and are appealing for rental properties.
So the cash flow, the mailbox money.
The mailbox money.
Right. That's the thing that you're saying could take care of your family.
For sure.
You've got that equity capture. What about the tax advantages?
Woo, what about those taxes?
We had lunch earlier, you and I was sharing with you some of my successes on cost segregation and bonus depreciation, and you were just smiling because, you know, this is where, you know, the teacher becomes a pupil or whatever. You're like, yeah, I've been doing that for a while, man. Ain't that great?
It's good stuff.
It's amazing, right? I think that it really does put you in a position where you're living the dream while you're creating the dream.
100%.
Right? Versus creating the dream to one day live in it, right? You're actually living in it while you create.
Right, I don't want to wait. I want to do it right now.
Right. Your wife's name Miranda?
Yes, sir.
And y'all work together-ish?
Yeah, she's, yes. So she lets me do my thing and she takes care of the house, which is a great partnership.
Right. She's probably more trying to push you out of the house these days than
probably.
Trying to wonder where you are, right? It's an adjustment.
Yeah, probably.
All right, well, we're going to take a break. We're going to do the money minute and then rapid fire, and then we're out of here, all right?
Sounds like a plan.
Stick around. We'll be right back.
REI Inc. is a monthly business publication for real estate investors, covering all types of real estate investments and strategies. It is the most comprehensive real estate investment publication on the market. All of the articles are written by the top leaders in the industry, so investors are assured of always getting the best information possible. Each month, REI Inc. also profiles the top companies in the industry and provides insights and data into key regional markets. Along with their sister platforms, the REI Referral Network and Highest Invest, real estate investors have exclusive access to off-market investment opportunities and national acquisition and disposition initiatives. To learn more, visit www.rei-inc.com, where you can also access the REI Referral Network. Also, be sure and visit www.highest-and-best.com to view the latest exclusive off-market assets with near immediate acceptance decisions and closing strategies. You can also email marketing@rei-referralnetwork.com to request more information.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Harris. I'm still here with my buddy Jason. Jason, it is time for the Money Minute. Imagine there's an entrepreneur out there just getting into real estate, or maybe they've been in real estate for a while and maybe they feel alone, maybe they're struggling, maybe they're successful and not finding fulfillment. I don't know. But this is the only 60 seconds of advice they're going to get all month. Like, that's it. Okay. All they get to do is hear this. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Money Minute. Take it away.
So I guess I'll take this from a perspective of talking to my younger self, but this is also advice I try to give people that probably don't want to hear it. But we're all going to die one day, right? We're all going to die, unfortunately. No one's figured out how to pass that. But you have to spend your time doing what you love. You cannot spend a moment doing something you're not passionate about and that you don't love. So whether that's real estate or writing a book or whatever, my advice to my younger self would be just follow your heart and do what you love. Don't chase the dollars, chase the dream, and chase the security that's going to bring you and your family. So I wish I would have started sooner. I wish I wouldn't have been so scared to take the action that was needed to get into real estate and, do whatever I want with my time. I wish I would have done this when I was 20 instead of 34. So that's my best advice. Don't give up on your dreams. If you fail, that is okay. You have to change your course and try again and again and again and again. I fail every day, but I try to change my course and get better every day too. So that's my advice.
Okay, so I'm going to pretend like you're a huge fan of my show because you just said something else everyone talks about, passion. And I recently have a 21-year-old son. He's studying to be a commercial aviation pilot, professional pilot at Oklahoma State. And I think I shared with you that I don't want my kids in real estate. I want them to invest in something, assets, real estate, whatever.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I want them to spend their days, spend their time doing what they love. Because I've spent too much of my time doing things that I don't love. That's why I'm fortunate to do what I do now, because I get to do what I love every day.
It's great.
And help investors and share, 20 years of mistakes and a couple things I did right.
Sure.
So let's get into rapid fire because I have a lot of questions for you.
Oh, okay. Bring it, Tim.
You drive a hybrid. You used to have a truck, and you used to post all this stuff at Home Depot. And now I see your little hybrid car for leaving Home Depot with like 20-foot, 2x6s hanging out of the back of it. But that's something that's important to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
I'm really just waiting for the Cybertruck to come out.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm waiting for that. But I'm also, I got that car, my other car got totaled, and I was like, I just need something right away. And I got that car because I am kind of a hippie.
Yeah.
I like to, take care of the planet and stuff.
Right.
So I got this hybrid, but also stopped me, I thought, from hauling a lot of stuff to job sites. It did not stop me. I bought the wrong car, man. That car is so universal. I can just fold seats down. It's a problem.
Now that you're not as active in the local real estate scene, do you miss it?
No, I don't. I did those presentations and stuff like that, and it was like a lot for ego, I think. And it didn't really have any other purpose. I got to meet some cool people, which I'm still friends with, so I'm grateful for that. But I don't miss the rah-rah ego side of things, no.
One of the hardest things about the real estate investing business when you're getting started is you are alone. You're sitting there in your house by yourself, cold calling or talking to your VA in some other country. But you don't want to get into the let's try to show off and all that. What should investors do to maybe network with like-minded peers but not get sucked into some of the traps that are out there?
I think like you hit it earlier, masterminds are great. A lot of like the free networking events are a lot of the same thing that's on social media, right? A lot of people are just fake. So when you get into something that's a good mastermind group where people are like vulnerable and tell their story, I think that's important. But because networking is great. Some people say it's not your network is net worth. But I really think it's who knows you more than who you know, right?
That's been the closing line of several speeches of mine recently.
Nice.
Right? Because ultimately, if you know me, but I don't know you, and you call me for help, I'm probably going to push you off on someone else.
Sure.
Right? If you haven't added value to me, or you're not memorable, or you haven't made yourself stand out, it's going to be hard to get someone else's attention.
For sure.
I know who Joe Biden is. Right?
Yes.
I know him, right?
Yes.
But I probably cannot call him and get some help.
Right. He doesn't know you.
Right.
That's right.
I use that example a lot. People are like, I got you. Yes, Joe Biden. I know Dak Prescott too, but he's not returning my emails.
Not taking your tips.
Jason, your perfect day in this business, what's it look like?
Perfect day would be waking up in the morning, playing with my kids before they go to school, working out after they all leave the house and mama takes them to school, and then getting on to some to-do list stuff, doing a little bit of cold calling, and walking the dog. Man, I just really enjoy my days doing what I want while also sprinkling in some responsibilities.
So there's a big push in larger shops with KPIs. And, like RCN, we have KPIs. You have to when you're managing a big team. But how do you hold yourself accountable as a solopreneur and make sure that you're being responsible with your money, your investments, and your time?
Yeah, I don't think that, I think every entrepreneur has to be super responsible with those things, time and money especially, right? So for me, it's never been a problem to be responsible with my money because I'm cheap. But my time, yeah, that is important to make sure I'm using my time wisely. So if I have something I need to knock out, I time block to knock those things out that are important to get done. And I always make sure that I'm hitting my personal goals for if I need to add 2 rentals this month, I need to make sure that's one of my goals that I'm hitting out and taking the consistent action every week to do that.
So I'm hearing time blocking. I'm hearing a to-do list, right? So
some goals.
Almost goal planning,
Yeah.
right? I know a lot of successful people do that on Sunday nights. They'll kind of write out what their week's going to look like, what they're going to be focused on, some personal accomplishments, that kind of thing. Any tips on that type of front that you can share?
No, that's great. Mine's Monday. So Mondays is my admin day where all the stuff I really don't want to do that has to be done for running a business and maintaining a portfolio. I do that stuff on Mondays. And then the rest of the week I take Thursdays off for hanging out at my kids' school or golfing or whatever. And then Fridays is the day that I go to Wichita Falls and check on all the projects. So Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm trying to make some money. I'm trying to find some houses to buy.
That is excellent. Thursday is just a day off.
Just a day off, yeah.
And Monday is almost kind of your eat that frog day.
Yeah.
Have you ever read that book?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're listening, you've never heard, it basically, if the worst thing you had to do every day when you woke up was eat a big slimy frog, the concept is eat it first. That way the rest of your day, I'm telling my salespeople all the time at RCN that it's look, if you have bad news to deliver someone, or an appraisal doesn't come in, or their credit score dropped 100 points overnight and they didn't know it or whatever,
Yeah.
I mean, make that call first.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, and you know this from being in sales, every time that phone rings, it's oh no. You're afraid it's the person that you have bad news for, right? So that's cool. So you take care, you eat the frog on Monday, you're productive on Tuesday, Wednesday, intentionally take time for the family on Thursday, and then Friday, go and I'm guessing you're probably verifying the contractors did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, project management.
Well, you're watching your money, right?
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
making sure that your money is about to go to what it's supposed to go
That's
to.
right.
Well, so we're almost out of time. Any parting thoughts or parting shots?
I guess my biggest parting advice would be if you are going to scale a team, make sure you have all your systems and KPIs that Tim was talking about in place to do that. And make sure you're watching those people and stack up some cash right now.
Yeah.
For sure.
So this is where I often ask people, if someone wants to get a hold of you, how do they? But it sounds like you're saying you don't want them to reach out to you?
I would like to make it difficult. I'm on Facebook sometimes.
Yeah.
So hit me up on Facebook.
You can follow Jason Mcdougall, real estate investor. Man, I appreciate you doing this. I know you don't get out of your Northwest DFW area of responsibility very often, but it means a lot to me you took the time to come here. So
Absolutely,
thank you.
bro.
All right, so that's it for this week. We'll see you next week. And just remember, your network is your net worth, and today you've been growing both. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Uncontested Investing. Questions about today's episode or the podcast? Email podcast@rcncapital.com and make sure to follow REI Inc. magazine on LinkedIn and Facebook, and RCN Capital on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. See you all next time.